podcast.
We talk solely about Redfall up until its launch, and then maybe for one more week, and then probably never again.
Yeah. So there's no news on Redfall this week, so we're just going to zoom really far in on this picture of a vampire and check out his skin complexion for the next hour and a half.
So we're just gonna talk about Redfall again. We're just gonna literally talk about last week's video.
We're just going to play.
We're gonna do a reaction
podcast.
to our own video. Yeah.
I really think Arcane need to market the game properly. What does the chat think?
Wow, that is such an original take. Yeah, no, I agree. You know.
Yeah.
God, what if it's a Left 4 Dead game? I can. That would be crazy. You know.
Well, Dak, I've got some news for you. They said that it wasn't actually a Left 4 Dead game, and it's more their take on Alan Wake.
That's crazy. I can't help but feel that, you know, this is new information. Like, I haven't heard this before, you know.
Yeah, well, my dad works at Redfall Studios.
Does he? That's so cool.
I mean, Arcane.
All right. I guess we should do this.
Yeah.
All right. Give us the jingle then. Let's crack on with this horrible, horrible podcast.
Yeah, we're jingling. Hopefully the jingle will nullify your cracked voices. Your cracked voice.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Sad Resume podcast, where today we're very sad for a lot of different reasons, you know, and the news. You're frowning at me.
Well, I don't feel sad.
You should be sad. You should be sad.
Oh yeah, I know some of the news. If you're referring to the Microsoft and many people losing their jobs.
Part, yeah.
Yeah.
But more importantly, my throat is sore and I'm a little bit sick.
That is the most important.
And the Avengers shut down. That's probably that's up there as well. Really sad for all 12 people still playing the game. So, you know. Have you ever been here before? My name's Dek, that's Tim.
Yeah, I'm Tim. Hello.
And we're going to chat shit for the next probably hour and a half to 2 hours. Actually, I have a lot to say about all of these things that are happening today. But I have a crackly throat. You know, I have like a dry winter cough. And, you know, I've got a bit of stuffy nose. And every now and then my throat is cracking. You know, my voice is cracking like, you know, when you're in puberty. Mm-hmm. And I kind of, you know, was hoping this wasn't a thing after the age of 20.
No.
But it happens. And it shouldn't. So I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
He's a sick boy. But it's fine. Just talk normally. Don't go crazy. Don't strain the voice, Deck.
I'm stressing out. Yeah, but this is the thing. What if I get impassioned? I get impassioned sometimes, and then you know, one crack turns into two cracks. Two cracks, the whole thing breaks. You know.
Just find your emotion receptor and just block it to your brain for the next hour and a half. It's easy. I've done it my entire life.
Belly breathing. Wow, he's got it. This guy's got it. You should have my job.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm qualified in being an asshole.
Into the news.
Well, usually we do no, you're doing it wrong. Usually we do what we've been playing.
Into the news. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. I'll start. What have I been playing this week? Yeah, nothing new.
Wow.
I have been playing
drum roll and everything.
Overwatch. I have been playing Slay the Spire. I have played a little bit of Octopath. I did that on a pair offline. Don't judge me. And I'll probably be doing that a little bit today as well. Yeah, no, I think that's about it from me, to be honest. We had such a good night of Overwatch last night. What was that? 12 ranked games. We had 11 losses and 1 win.
So good.
It is amazing.
I really learned a lot about myself.
Yeah. Actually,
you know,
I actually cried myself to sleep for the first time in a while.
Yeah. I held Never mind. I'm not going to say that. Getting into trigger warning territory, so I'm not going to say that.
Jesus, what were you going to say? Fuck.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I was going to say. Yeah, no, it was pretty rough. Yeah, it was just one of those nights where we were playing. There was 4 of us. Obviously teams of 5, and we just could not catch a win. And none of us were really I couldn't point to an obvious thing we were doing wrong.
No.
So that it was a bit of just smash your head against the wall.
I think
and we did catch one dub.
I think some comps. I feel like we're very slow to change up our comp. Like when we go, for example, there was a few times we went Symmetra Junkrat last night, like us, and then the other player just sees that and then just goes Pharah. But then we don't change. We just stay on those heroes for ages because we had 60% ult or something like that, and it just wastes so much time. It's better off just throwing away your ult charge to just kill that Pharah.
I agree,
and I think that sort of shit just loses us so much momentum. Yeah, and just playing meta characters a little bit helps because we were up against some pretty good players last night. But yeah,
but I also think with these games, especially Overwatch, I suppose the way I think of it is that there's a macro strategy and then there's a micro strategy. So macro would be changing characters. And then micro is going for flanks, death balling, stuff like that. And I don't feel like we ever really have a micro strategy either.
No.
It's usually just walk forward and shoot. And maybe if I'm playing Genji or something, I'll try and get a flank in. But sometimes you have those teams which they're obviously in comms and they all go round the left side, and because of that they get a pick and it kind of it's just a really good micro strategy. So yeah,
definitely.
The joys of competitive video gaming,
Yeah, man. But yeah, that was kind of rough. But yeah, that's about it from my end for what I've been playing this week. But yeah, what about you?
I've just been playing Overwatch and some Pentiment. I think that's pretty much it. I'm every now and again I'm still checking on You Suck at Parking for those private matches, but that still hasn't happened. They said it was coming soon after launch. We're now in 2023. Soon, that word is one of the most abused words in the English language.
Yeah,
it's absolutely exploited. it's horrible.
Yeah, it doesn't mean what people say it means. It just means whatever. It just means get off our backs.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, fuck off. So that's pretty much it. So pretty uninteresting. I did tweet the other day about Pentiment that I was it's a lot longer. I think I've said before, it's a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. It's not necessarily a bad thing, and it's not bloated. I think it is 15 to 20 hours long. I'm maybe at hour 8 or something like that.
Are you still enjoying it? Still liking it?
I still, whenever I get into it, I do enjoy it, but there are just some times where I don't want to boot up a game and just read, and that's just the nature of the game. It depends, but there are other times where it's really good because when I've got Fox, I can just I don't have to have the mute, I don't have to pay attention to much other than the text on the screen, and I can use one hand to play the game pretty much. I can just use my gangly fingers on the controller. And it got me thinking as well, actually, and I also tweeted about this, and it got no traction, which I thought was really sad because it was one of my best. Because I even photoshopped an Xbox controller into 2 halves. And put,
I saw this.
The little Joy-Con things on it. And I was like, would that not be cool? Because I like that about the Joy-Cons, that you can just have your hands separate.
Yeah.
It's a lot more flexible for casual playing. It's, again, especially with a baby. I just thought, am I crazy? Is that a good idea?
I mean, it's a better idea than the stupid fucking LCD screen they put on a controller. I can tell you that much.
Yes, hard agree.
Yeah, I mean, fuck me. I'd rather have Xbox Joy-Cons than something displaying my battery in a fucking 2001 mobile
and a word
format.
Yeah, my gamer tag, just in case I forget. I've got amnesia or something. Disassociate every now and then. Oh god, that's me.
That is me. Wow. But yeah, no, it is a pretty good idea. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the worst idea ever.
I'm just surprised, of all the things that features that are in controllers at the moment that have got a bit of traction, smart rumble, like haptic feedback, adapt it, whatever. The split controller isn't one that's also that like Sony or PlayStation or even Sony Xbox or even like Google or Steam haven't tried to emulate. I don't know. I just feel like there's a market there that
definitely, yeah. Especially if it just plays like a normal controller, but you have the option to just split it whenever you want. Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, well, cool. That's pretty much it. Been a bit uneventful. I've been hyper busy, Tim. I've been like a turbo socializing this week because I had my first full week at uni. I've got 2 full weeks at uni, and then I go into my normal cadence of like half and half in the week.
Mm-hmm.
And that's driving to Coventry. These are long days, man. I underestimated kind of the journey here. It's like 45 minutes in and then 55 minutes back. And it's meeting like a class of other like 35 people, and you all know what it's like, when you go and you go to a new like hobby in a new place, or whatever it is, or it's an educational setting or work setting. I'm sure it's been similar for you actually, but there's getting to know everyone's names, and of course we do a lot of like in what we do a lot of like role play, so like getting to know each other really helps. When you're pretending to be a therapist and you're pretending to be a client, you know what I mean? It helps knowing each other so you don't feel like an idiot. So I've been shattered this week. I've only just got back on my feet, to be honest, in terms of energy, and now I'm doing it all over again tomorrow. But yeah,
it's rough.
That's why I'm sick.
Yeah, probably. Like seriously, because your body does just use so much energy when it comes to absorbing new information and putting on this almost different persona, right? Because you're not your regular self when you're introducing yourself to new people and all that. You're being more bubbly, you're being more approachable, you're being all that is just so much more like effort on your body. And all the learning it goes through, yeah, for sure. Like it's gonna let down its guard in other areas when you're outputting more. So, yeah, for sure.
Socializing is exhausting, and like I always remember a way that we thought about the way that we always thought about it when we spoke about fatigue when I worked in like neuro, rehab, helping with people with brain injuries and stuff like that. Is that we separated fatigue into physical, which is one we all think of, like I'm tired, you feel it physically. But there's also like emotional. You can get emotionally fatigued, and there's also cognitive. So like your brain, and sometimes you feel okay, but like you're just working really slowly. Like I'm not remembering anything. Like I'm struggling to pay attention to stuff, and they're 3 separate things. And that always like stuck with me because like when I come out of like doing a lot of socialing, I always feel like cognitively fatigued. I'm like I don't have the bandwidth, and emotionally as well.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, I tend to get quite physically fatigued as well. Like I think my first few days at work, at my new job, where I was like learning so much and new people, new environment, everything. I literally just got home and just fell asleep.
Yeah, like, that never happens.
Yeah, and it's just that just shows just how much more. Yeah, just how much more sort of strain your body's under.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard right now, Do you know who else it's hard for? Actually, no. I was gonna do a segue into maybe, the Microsoft whole laying off thing, but we're not there yet. Do you know who else it's hard for? Rocksteady, as we move into our honorable mentions, with immense smoothness. Nobody even noticed that segue.
No,
it was so smooth.
No.
And the reason for this is, by the way, Tim, do not click on the link and do not share the photo I've got on the link, because apparently Warner Bros. Is slamming everyone with copyrights.
Okay.
Itsy channel don't want to get slammed with a copyright. It was around the leak screenshot of Suicide Squad having a battle pass, store, 6 currencies, and it's what are your like initial thoughts about that?
My initial thoughts are I'm very disappointed. You don't like to see this sort of stuff in a single player game, right? That's not good. And can this game be played co-op? I'm not actually sure. Can you like? Is it like dropping?
Yeah.
Okay, it is. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I'm getting fatty Avengers vibes from this. Like, it is
Funny
not
you say
even
that.
funny. Yeah, because I actually even saw the screenshot and I watched like a video on this, and people were literally just almost like for like comparing the UI to like the Avengers UI, and it was just like,
Mm.
I don't know, man. I really hope this is being exaggerated, or this is outdated, or this is just something they didn't end up going with, because I've said in the past that Suicide Squad kind of looks like a bit of a banger. Like, it looks like a pretty cool game, and
The gameplay looks turbo fun.
yeah, and it just would be a real fucking shame if they just lock it down with this sort of stuff. It would literally kill the game. Yeah, it's a real shame, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm not happy about it, not in the slightest.
Yeah. I guess it is funny, isn't it? Because we've had this now emerging trend of like these superhero game, these 4-player superhero games that either are full-on games as a service or they're like leaning into co-op, and I'm struggling to find the exact way to pigeonhole it, but I think you all know what I mean. You know, like Gotham Knights did. It wasn't quite games as a service, but it definitely seemed like it wanted to be. Avengers was. And I don't know, because I'm torn about it, because like I like the idea of like these superhero games existing and having like a co-op element. Like I think that makes sense. Be superheroes with your friends. Yeah, great, awesome. But not all of them. Like the fact that that's the majority now is maybe a bit much. Like the fact that we were really only looking at Insomniac with Spider-Man as the single player, you know, superhero game. So that's kind of crazy to me. You know, maybe Wonder Woman if that's still happening, but we don't know anything about that.
And Wolverine, but these are games that haven't come out, so
yeah, exactly. I mean, we know it's going to be the Sony, you know, formula, so it'll be the same thing. You know, like I said, I like the idea of some of these games having like a co-op element. I think that's pretty cool. But the fact that we're on our third one now and they have a bad history, like if Gotham Knights had pulled it off, I wouldn't be feeling this way. But Gotham Knights fumbled on quite a few levels. I know a lot of people like did quite enjoy it, like genuinely, but it fumbled from what I could tell because at some point early in the development, it was a games as a service, and then they pulled out of it, you know, maybe because of Avengers.
Yeah, it definitely seems like they're more like over two in this sort of genre, this sort of space, and maybe you should just try and take out this element, or like not bake it in and then remove it, you know, just from scratch, just make a game that's not games of a service. Especially, I just don't even see how it kind of fits as well with like Suicide Squad. Like, it's just like I feel like when you throw in a gear system and a loot system and a battle pass and stuff like that in a game like that, I feel like you're just doing it for the sake of it. It doesn't need it. It doesn't fit. It's just weird. It's just really, really weird.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. And I just don't know, like, because we've spoken about like battle passes before, right? And like generally, like I think they're okay for like games as a service games. I think they're like a fair middle ground where there's no gambling. You know, I think some of it's a bit questionable in terms of like the season expiring and you having bought it and then you don't get stuff in it. I don't know. I feel there's something there's some like ethical problem there that I can't be bothered to dive into right now. But anyway, in terms of single player games, I know this is a really bad analogy and a really bad example, but like You Suck at Parking has a battle pass, and that's like mostly a single player game, right? Loads of levels, you drive around, you do the little fun. Yeah, it's a fun little indie game, really good, you know, just as throw it out there. And it has a battle pass, and you can play anything in the game, and it will level up that battle pass, and you'll get cosmetics. And I think that's quite kind of fun and kind of cute. I don't know. I'm okay with that, I guess. But like the argument against battle passes is that if you're going to put it in a live service game, or really, I guess any game, is that it removes player expression. So in the sense that you're not getting currency to buy what you want in any order you want, you're just getting it given to you in a certain order. So like, you know, so everybody's going to have the same stuff, you know, in the same order. That's kind of the counter argument, at least in terms of, you know, from the design perspective, you know, if you're forgetting about the monetizing. So there is an element here of like, as much as I'm not entirely against battle passes, if all of the cosmetics are jammed into a battle pass, then you do in a superhero game, like there's a lot of opportunity for player expression there, and that's kind of being robbed, I feel, you know.
Yeah. No, I actually kind of agree with you. Yeah, it's just a little bit weird. There are just different ways you can approach it. Like there's like the way like Spider-Man approaches it. I know Spider-Man's not a co-op game, and all this, but the way they approach it with just having like suits and equipment just being unlocked by just playing the game or doing specific challenges, like why can't we just have that baked into the game rather than, oh, you have to buy a battle pass actually to get the cool suits that have the cool abilities and stuff like that. It's just like, well, no. Why can't we just make it a cool fun collectible where I play parts of your game that I wouldn't normally play so I can get this cool fucking suit, which means I put more hours into your game? Like, I just don't get it. Like, there's no reason why a game can't have the same sort of formula as a single player superhero game like Spider-Man while also maintaining the co-op element as well. It's like they're just like, oh, if we make it co-op and play it with your friends, we have to monetize it. It's just how that works. It's like, no, it's not. It really isn't.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, like, unless there's some like killer feature that we don't know about with Suicide Squad yet, like the reason that these sorts of games have never worked ever worked as a service game, as in what what I mean is like a co-op game rather than like a shared world game like Destiny. That's a different thing. I think we can all agree. It's because like the combat loop isn't varied enough. Like you have your 20, 30, 40 hours of it. There's no like deep build, like RPG building, deep like loot system or whatever it is, variety of mechanics in the world. That's what I mean. Unless there is, then maybe they know something we don't. But for the most part, people are done with these sort of games after 30 hours. So I don't see the point in you turning this into a service game where you update it on like a monthly basis. Yeah. And like, what are those updates? Like, as if you've built this to be something that can be experienced as a contained world. Like you're kind of pigeonholed in, aren't you? So like you're going to add another city or something. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they don't have the expansive systems in place. I mean, they might do, but I can't see it having like the expansive systems of something like Diablo. Where you can just keep playing that. Where I just feel like it's just going to be shallow, and like you said, like you're just going to be done with it. So like most players aren't going to really go for that whole monetized route or element because they're just going to complete it and kind of be done with the game, knowing that that's about all they want to do with it.
Yeah. Imagine you get to the end of the year, it's December 2023, and you're like, God, I'm still playing Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I just can't see that happening.
Like that's not happening, is it? It's just not happening. So, because that's like also it's just like what the devs are telling us. Like none of the like ads that we've seen have indicated that the game is going to be like a hyper replayable game in the same way, like you say, Diablo is, arguably Destiny, and competitive games. They're the same thing. They're very replayable in nature.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a weird one. It's a weird design choice. It's definitely not. When I saw this, it's definitely not what I expected to come out of Suicide Squad or what I expected to see.
No.
But we'll see how it turns out. Rocksteady do have a good history. Maybe they'll pull it off. Maybe they'll have the deep, expansive systems we're claiming that they probably won't. But you never know. But it's definitely not good.
Maybe.
I can definitely say
and
that.
Like, yeah, I don't know, man, because like I've said before, I'm not a fan of like layered monetizing. I'm okay with monetizing, but when you start getting to 2-3 different types of monetization, it's like, guys, like this is a full price game. This isn't a free to play game. It's not a reduced price game. It is a full ass game.
Yeah.
When you open it up and the first thing you see is shop battle pass, it's like, and like, do we need a shop and a battle pass? Because like, I think there is like kind of maybe a future where, or like a possibility where there is like a, the £70 game and they say, here's the season pass. Or not the season pass, because if there is, that's another type of monetization. But
God.
if they say like, here's the update schedule, through to holiday this year, it's all free. We're going to add this new faction in the city. We're going to add a new hero, a new member of the Suicide Squad halfway through the year. You get to play them, and then we're going to add new skill trees. And you're like, yeah, cool, it's all free. And so they say, here's battle passes are going to help us fund that. Okay, I'm okay with that. And maybe the battle passes is like it's a condensed kind of premium track. It's only like 20 levels, and it gets you a certain number of cool cosmetics that are reserved for that. I think that's okay. But when it's like none of that's been promised yet, so far, it looks like there's 3 types of monetization. Having 6 currencies isn't a good look either. It's just not a good look. There are, depending on what they say, I could still be a believer, but it depends what they say. It's just not putting its best foot forward, I guess, is maybe what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's just it's very weird, and you're expecting a lot out of somebody these days. It's almost like when they make a game like this, you're kind of essentially like almost forcing the user or trying to persuade the user heavily into spending like it's going to be a £70 game, and then with like a battle pass around £10 to £15, and then I don't know, maybe a cool skin you might like or something like that. You really think the majority of players out there are going to want to spend like 80 to 90 quid on a title? Like quids in. Like that is so much fucking money. Like to think that like if I want Suicide Squad and I want the battle pass, I'm gonna have to drop close to 90 fucking pounds is a joke. Like I don't even spend that kind of shit when a game like pre-order comes with like a cool statue or something. Like let alone just for the product. Like God, it's just it really like people aren't happy with the £70 price tag as it is, and you're charging that and in-game stuff. Like oh,
it
it's
reminds
bold.
me of like the Destiny model, which we've complained about before. But like when we used to play Destiny, like the amount of money that we spent on the expansions for really not much. We always made fun of them, like making you play the same levels backwards.
Yeah.
We'd always joke like, "Oh, the next expansion we'll be playing this level." Upside down, we'll be in the hive mind upside down, like it'll be reversed, it'll be mirror mode. We'd always joke about that because like it became a thing where they would just take the same levels and make you go through it backwards. There was very little new content, and they were like 30 quid a pop. You'd be done with it in 4 hours, and it's like it's just not good value ultimately. Like
Yeah. There was only literally a couple of outliers in the Destiny in the Destiny world that are actually worth the money. And that's like Taken King and like one of the others. I can't remember. There was something else in Destiny 2 that was really worth it as well. But like, yeah, for the majority of it, like you said, it's just recycled content, a couple of new guns. Even some of those guns were kind of like reskinned versions of other raid weapons, or they just brought back like raid weapons that were in the game before. Like Destiny 2 were like, yeah, we're bringing back Vault of Glass, and you can use the Fate Bringer again. It's just like, well, I've already done this, and I don't need to spend £25 on it. But people are so hyped. They're like, Fate Bringer's back, let's go. And it's like, no, you're just feeding into what they fucking want you to. Like, God.
The way Destiny, the Bungie acted with Destiny was like kind of interesting because they kind of flipped let's, after a certain point, they were like, let's just appease the hardcore, like the 1%, the streamers, and maybe all of the people that are literally, dumping 6 hours a day into the game. And, it's definitely had, some semblance of an effect, I guess. But it definitely drove me away from the game. Someone who like I played the game pretty hardcore, but I tape it off. But I think that continued thing of they kept leaning into this, like, oh, you remember that thing we released 6 months ago? God, are we so nostalgic for that? God, didn't we love that then? We're gonna let you do that again for 10 quid, and it's like, fuck off. No.
It was absurd. To think in Destiny 2 they brought back the first ever raid that was made. and charged you for it again for a Destiny 1 like 2014 title with the same guns. There was nothing like, there was no like new drops or anything. It was like Vex Mythoclast and Fatebringer, and the other Scout. There was that really good Scout rifle as well. Yeah, and it's just like, but people just bought into it. We're like, oh yeah, I'm so excited. It's just like, no, it's the same shit. Are you guys idiots? I don't understand.
Condemn this, I guess at that point, I mean, to bring it full circle, like, I guess when Destiny was doing that, it didn't have any other types of monetization. It does now, and it has battle passes and stuff. But back then, when it was doing those expansions, that was its only monetization. So, whatever, I guess.
It did have the store, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, well, that's Suicide Squad. Like I said, I saw some gameplay after I saw this news, just because I thought I'd check it out, and I was like, wow, this looks fun. This looks fun. This is really good. So my fingers are crossed, man. Like you said, you're absolutely right. Rocksteady has a good history in making the game and mechanics. I just hope this isn't going to be squandered by greedy Warner Brothers. So we'll see.
Yeah.
You can share this screenshot though. As we talk about, this stirred a bit of drama as a particular writer over at Kotaku, and I don't usually witch hunt, but we're such a small podcast, and I'm going to share the screenshot anyway. That I don't think it really matters. And we've spoken about this individual before, Luke Plunkett over at Kotaku, talking about Xbox. This guy hates Xbox. I don't know what it is. My man hates us, all of us. It's a bit. I don't know, man. I don't know what we did, and so Tim will put it on screen, but he said he commented on what a Phil Spencer interview, and we all know Phil. Phil is like nice to his own detriment, in his terms of his strategy. He's like, we need to be inclusive, where we as much as possible, not be divisive, reduce toxicity, and I think to some degree that's kind of hurt the brand because they've been so gratuitous with their exclusive, their approach to exclusives. But anyway, he said, turn away from dividing players, quoting Phil, says man at the helm of the most toxic fan base in all of video games. Is that just not the weirdest thing? Like, I don't know. It's just such a bizarre thing to say to me. Like, I couldn't believe what I was reading from like a senior writer at Kotaku.
Phil Spencer says game companies must turn away from dividing players and creators. It's pretty weird. But what game companies must turn away from? But I don't get it. Like that's a good thing though, right?
Are you not seeing the comment above that?
What
Luke's
comment? Oh, what did he say? Oh, sorry, I'm just on the screenshot. Oh, okay. Turn away from dividing players, says man at the helm with the most toxic fan base in all video games. Okay.
Yeah, literally, yeah. Okay.
The man at the hell. It's not like he's leading the charge of toxicity.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, as if those two are connected anyway.
Yeah, he can't. He's not cultivating this. Like, Phil's actually been very good in the past with making sure like everyone benefits as much as possible, players, developers, all that sort of stuff. He's always been in talks with like Nintendo and Sony and bringing these things to as many platforms as possible. If anything, he's been the one most open to just like you said, just building a bridge between all platforms to benefit everyone. Yeah, that's absolutely hilarious. Like, even if our fan base is toxic, he's not like, he's not like the fucking worm tongue, like whispering in everyone's ear. Like, it's ridiculous.
Like, don't tell him, guys, about the messages we get from Phil every week that tells us to like go to PlayStation and Nintendo forums and tell them to KYS and everything. Don't tell them about that stuff that Phil tells us to do. That's all part of the secret Xbox, hit squad.
That reminds me, actually, Phil did DM me, and I do need to go on the Nintendo subreddit and
just dunk your daily dunk on
exactly.
Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah. God, this game's overrated.
God, this game's a Starfield wannabe, isn't it?
Yeah, does anyone
Christ.
else? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just wanted to touch on it because he blocked me. We're blocked. We're officially blocked by Luke. Yeah.
Dude, how many messages did you send him?
I didn't send him any. I just said, like, because below this comment, he was like, "Oh God, look at all these Xbots coming to prove me right." And it's like, you can't say something like offensive and then like use circular reasoning to back yourself up when people get offended. Do you know what I mean? If I was like, "Oh God, all people with brown hair are fucking idiots," and then people with brown hair start calling me out, and then I'm like, "God, look at them proving my point." It's like, oh.
What are some of his
so I
replies
pointed
here?
out and he blocked me.
How do you know this? He put in quotes. Gee, wow, I don't know. How about I've been working in the job since 2006? Outside of community managers / reps, what line of work do you think? Insane fanboys email, message, and abuse first. It's Xbox first and Daylight second.
I mean, as you know, all of us are born with an Xbox gene. Like everybody who owns an Xbox is born with an Xbox gene, that makes us like feral, like kind of, like we've got rabies or something, and we have to kind of aggressively attack people. It's no other gamers have that. We have the Xbox gene, and that's how that kind of works. It's not like we're all created equal, and you just kind of put frames around things where you see them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of absurd. Yeah, if you not all the fans me about this, you will be blocked. Cannot understand how much my point's been proven over the last 24 hours.
Yeah,
like I didn't get it. It's like you punch someone in the face and then they punch you back, or they're angry at you, and you're like, "Whoa, man, what's your problem?"
Yeah, what's your problem, dude?
Yeah,
I knew this was going to happen.
Why'd you hit me back, man? That's not cool.
I would never tweet something like this. I don't know. I just hold myself to a higher standard. I would never particularly call out a user base because remember the algorithm works against you firstly, but secondly, remember that it doesn't make any sense. We're all just people who buy a fucking toy. What do you mean? What do you mean? What fan bases? Well, they're all toxic. They're all equally toxic.
Yeah.
So whatever. That was
weird.
Fun. We've been blocked by a few people now. You'll be happy to know. You're welcome.
Thanks, man.
The list is getting longer.
I just like to throw it out there that Deck solely controls the Quick Resume podcast Twitter, and any blocks are a result of him harassing and not me. I'm just error code. I'm at error code Wheeze, just chilling. I'm not
chilling, doing nothing, not responding to my ads.
Yeah, I'm not a tweeter.
Not engaging. I'm not the tweeter.
I'm not one of those tweeters.
Should be though.
Oh, you tagged me in something
when
11
we
hours ago.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, no, that's right. Don't worry. But a moment's gone now. Doesn't matter. All right. I'm going to move on to the next story.
Yeah, fucking do it.
Final honorable mention for today then. Avengers is getting shuttered. No more updates. It's getting anthemed. Last update is on March the 31st. And the support is fully discontinued on December the 30th, as in no more bug fixes or anything like that. They are saying you can still play single player and multiplayer after September, so they will keep the servers up. But they've said, essentially, we're not going to guarantee how long that could be for. Like, they could be shut by the end of the year. In fact, I think that might be the case. I think the end of the year, maybe January 24, the servers get shut off. Still play single player, but servers are dead. Well, you said you saw this. What were your kind of initial reactions to Avengers finally getting the swift karate chop to the neck?
I thought it was pretty quick. I thought it was pretty quite quick to axe a game like this, and especially as I swear they released content for this game, like a new character or like an expansion, not that long ago.
Yeah, Winter Soldier, came out not long ago.
Yeah, that literally came out like a few months ago, I swear down. And now they're just like, guess we're giving up.
Yeah.
It's just like, it seems really weird to me. Like, when you see a game shut down, like the game is literally hasn't been touched, like no bug fixes, no anything for like a year, and then it gets announced that it's shutting down. It's like, okay, that makes sense. But to see something
Yeah.
have updates, have new content, have a new character put into the game, and then them just like, yeah, we're not working on it anymore. Servers might be dead by the year.
Yeah.
Kind of weird to me. Like, it's a little bit odd. But yeah, I mean, the game was a bit poopy, wasn't it? So it doesn't surprise me.
Well, I think it, yeah, I think it like didn't it end up doing actually. I think I remember this coming out, and I remember being surprised that it did better than I thought it was going to do. But still only like sevens.
Yeah,
Maybe high 60s. I don't know. I was expecting way worse. I don't know. So, either way, not good by consensus. Is the agreement.
yeah,
But I just think it's a shame. It's just a damn shame. Like I remember this game announced back in like 2017, maybe even earlier. Like it's the first, a tease trailer, and that was at like the real height of like a lot of the Marvel stuff. Like around end game time, and that's it's probably a strategic announcement. And I remember being like, oh man, that's so exciting! Like an actual game, an actual Avengers game that's going to be like co-op. That's just Square Enix. Sorry, Crystal Dynamics, both. That could be so great. And then we didn't hear about it. We didn't hear about it. We didn't hear about it. And then we finally saw it, and it's like, why does it look like this? why is it Avengers? Why is that? Why is that Chris Hemsworth but not? Why is that Scarlett Johansson but not? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, but then you could say like the same thing about Guardians. It was Chris Pratt. But
no,
not.
I don't agree.
It was Rocket, but not. But they tried to replicate the movie characters, didn't they, in Guardians of the Galaxy? But they did it. They did it better. I'm not saying they did it worse or they did it the same, but they did try and replicate them.
I don't feel they did. I really felt that they made their own versions of the characters, and that's why it kind of worked. And of course, like, yeah, they're drawn from the same source material, but I feel like they just kind of wrote them. Whereas in Avengers, it was like, oh, we need to copy the MCU versions, and just from looks, like face value, it's like what, like it's like uncanny. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's so close, but not close enough. Whereas like the Guardians, they have their own designs in Guardians of the Galaxy in the game. They had their own designs. They didn't look too similar. Again, it was drawn from the source material, but I didn't look at that, and I wasn't confused by the MCU versions. So it didn't come to. I never ended up playing this game. I always said I was gonna try this game at some point. It came to Game Pass, I think, last year at some point. Maybe the year before, I can't remember, and I never ended up giving it a go because I heard people say like the actual campaign and the combat was actually kind of good. It was just ruined by this tacked on like co-op and repetition, this desire to make it games as a service. So yeah, and bugs, yeah. And so it ended up having a lot of these wave-based defense things, where it gets really repetitive. But that's kind of what you do with games as a service. You make repetitive fucking combat encounters, and it's like, oh, it'll be different next time because you'll have an extra, put 5% reload speed on your hammer.
Reload those bullets in your hammer.
Yeah, that's it. So I just think it's a damn shame because I do remember feeling genuine excitement about this when it was initially announced, and it got supported for 2.5 years. And what did it get? It got Spider-Man, Black Panther, and then I guess Winter Soldier.
Hawkeye.
And this could have just been like, and Hawkeye, yeah, right. This could have just kept going and going and going. And She-Hulk, did it get She-Hulk towards the end? Did I make that up?
I don't know. I think you might have made that up.
I thought it got leaked or something. I feel like somebody made that got leaked. Maybe that's coming in at the end of the year. Or later in the year, sorry. This could have just kept going and going. Like the potential here was so immense, and it's just it goes to show that you cannot just lean on an IP and lean into the latest trends to find success. Like the event, like it released in 2020. Like really, there's still a lot of. I mean, there obviously still is a lot of momentum with the MCU. I think it's fair to say that it's fallen off a little bit, but on the release, like it still had a lot of momentum. Like, how do you make an MCU game fail? Like fuck, like that's an immense screw up.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, and I don't even like. I'm not even mad with the approach they took to it because back then that was new, the whole co-op like loot based sort of thing. Like I wasn't like appalled by that decision, you know, and it definitely differentiated itself from the standard just single player Marvel that was everywhere at the time or had released like Spider-Man and stuff like that. Um yeah, it was just the way they did it. It was just a final package of it. Like I still think on paper, you know, the game kind of sounded fine. But yeah, it was just ruined by greed, and it was just ruined by a lack of polish, forcing it out of the door, get as much money as possible. Um, yeah, some of the shit I saw in that game were people like YouTube videos of them, like video diaries of like where it went wrong, you know, all that sort of stuff with Marvel Avengers. Some of the gameplay footage in that game and like the bugs and how it runs and the amount of times, you know, where like little glitches happen and you have to like restart the mission because you can't progress, you know, that sort of shit is so annoying. Like,
Yeah.
oh, there's nothing more annoying to me than like if you're playing a game, especially like a wave-based one, and like the last enemy that's stopping you from progressing is like glitched in a wall or something, and you have to restart the whole
That's
thing.
so annoying.
It
Yeah,
and
nothing worse.
it's so, and that game was just filled with shit like that, and it's just so annoying. Yeah, yeah, it was a damn shame.
Yeah, and you know, it's got me thinking. Like, has there ever been a game that we've played like a I don't want to say open world because I don't think this was an open world, but like, you know, co-op like RPG, I guess, like this kind of one in the RPG direction that's
Mm.
being good. I mean, I guess the only example I can think of is Borderlands.
What
I'm
about
just struggling to think off the top of my head.
does something like Division not count? Because that's not necessarily MMO like Destiny, is it? It is
I
in
think it
the
is. I think
PvP
it's
areas, but like other from that, it's just me and you in a world. We don't run into any other players. I load into your world, and we just co-op it. You know, that's it. It's
I
all PvE,
suppose
and that was pretty good.
maybe it's still yeah, it's a bit blurry, I guess that one, but maybe yeah. What?
But yeah,
So bad.
Borderlands. Yeah, Borderlands
Squeaking.
is the best analogy for something like this. I could have sworn there's something else as
Are
well.
there more? There must, yeah, that's one thing. There must be more. In all of our times playing video games together, Tim, we
so
must have played
you're saying
more.
loot based as well? Because I was going to say like co-op RPGs, like
Yes,
Fable, but like that doesn't really count,
I
does
guess,
it?
but like they were. No, I mean, I think fine. Like you know, take loot out of the question, and I'm still struggling. Like
Yeah,
I
Fable
think, I
3.
really think that maybe Fable 3, but like, was it? Did you not just? Did you take your own character in? Like, could you like make any sort of progression while you were there? Was it, or was it one of those lazy implementations? I can't remember. Like for
Oh, I
real.
can't remember either. Crackdown, maybe? Crackdown 2? Crackdown 3?
Yeah,
Um,
maybe one of the crackdowns. Yeah, good example.
there's definitely some. Is this like our favorite thing? Monster
But
Hunter?
it's just our co-op RPGs are just really rare. I guess maybe Monster Hunter. Yeah, I guess maybe Monster Hunter is maybe one of the better examples. And you know, it just got me thinking that like I don't think it's hard to pull off. You know,
Yeah,
I'm sure we can tie the conversation into Redfall somehow. But like I think this stuff is hard to pull off and to get right.
definitely.
Yeah, there's got to be other examples, but it's just quite funny, you know, that I think that I'm finding it difficult to think off the top of my head. Maybe Dark Souls.
It's kind of pseudo co-op though, isn't it? It's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, yeah, there are some out there. I mean, there's definitely I think we're both just having a bit of a brain fart because we love our co-op sort of games we play together and stuff like that. But
They're just rare though.
yeah, they are relatively
They are just rare.
Yeah.
Which is funny. Or maybe just the good ones are rare because, you know, like we just said, you know, at the top of the show, so the three back, I said not back to back, but, you know, three big superhero games now have gone down this direction between Gotham Knights, Avengers, and Suicide Squad coming up. Yeah, it's just a funny old thing. And it makes it even weirder, especially when they look over at the success of Spider-Man, that they weren't just like, man, if we just picked Deadshot, you know, and made a single player Deadshot game, that would do numbers. I don't know. Like, and I'm not against it. I'm not one of these people that's like that's your response to every multiplayer game, because some people are like that. Some people are like, if there's if a game is touched by multiplayer, they're like, why can't they just make a linear single player game with the good graphics and the good story about a dad? And it's like, I'm not one of these people that I'm okay with some multiplayer experimentation, but it's more that I'm surprised that nobody's seen the success of Spider-Man and be like, oh, let's try and copy that. I don't know.
I feel like like you just said, a Deadshot one would have been really good. Yeah, I feel like that inside of like a Hitman-esque formula would have been fucking sick. Like, you take contracts,
Great, yeah, it would have been
and
rad.
you got your
Play down
sandbox.
gangs.
Yeah,
that
would be so cool.
And Batman's like hunting you.
Mate,
he's like an invader.
He's like the Mr. X. Yeah, that after like a certain time just turns up and makes your life more difficult if you haven't killed your target. Yeah. Yeah, dude, we should totally make video games. That sounds great.
Make a studio. We can be the idea man.
Yeah, we just need someone to type out the code for us, but we're great. We're the idea man.
You can do code, can't you? You can do that.
I'm not the biggest coder. I know some, but I just do code. No, I do code.
In games. It's a little bit different, but that's okay. I like your spirit. I like where your head's at.
I do spirits.
Stop. My man needs rehab. All right, I did have one more honorable mention that I forgot about, and I've realized I fucked up the the note I left, but it's to do with marketing synergy across for the developer direct. You've got Arcane retweeting, you've got Bethesda tweeting, you've got Mojang tweeting, Xbox is retweeting. It's great. Everybody's retweeting.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their own little graphic that they're using. ESO. They'll just it's great. We've got the marketing beat. They did it. We've been complaining about this for years.
We've done it.
And it's the first time we've probably seen it. However, what I put in my notes, Tim, can you see the little note above that? And can you read it out for me, please?
Develop direct marketing aubergines across Xbox, Arcane, Bethesda, and Mojang. What was that supposed to say?
I don't know. I don't know. I think maybe synergy, but I don't know how I would have done that. I guess the S is near the A. And the Y is near the U. And the N is near the B. Yeah, for sure, synergy. Yeah.
Okay. Aubergines across. That's funny. I like it.
That'd be pretty good though if all the accounts were just tweeting the the aubergine emoji.
Yeah.
Commonly used to represent a penis.
Yeah, like the little water droplets afterwards.
Yeah, come watch our developer direct aubergine with water droplets. It'll make you cool.
But yeah, man, no, it's good to see. I like it when marketing comes together like this because it's cool, man. It's cute.
Yeah.
Like everyone has their own like color, their own like identity, and it's just kind of cool. Yeah, I like it. It's a cool vibe.
And it's also like they've got confidence. Do you know what I mean? Like, it makes me feel like there's confidence in the show, rather than, like the big thing I keep coming back to is that Redfall trailer that we had around Halloween time. And nobody retweeted it. It was a good trailer and it's just like, man, it doesn't feel like anybody's really confident about Redfall. Yeah, and it's not helping. It's not helping the situation for a game that needs more traction in the marketing department. So yeah, it's good. It's good. And we'll see. This week it's Wednesday. It's the direct. So I think that's all we've got kind of to say about the direct in the build up. So in case you're still listening, if anybody's listening, we're hoping to do the live stream for then. So we'll catch you there. We'll have a video up on the channel. If you're following me on Twitter, you'll get confirmation of that. But that's the plan, to do the live stream for the show.
It is. Yes, that is indeed the plan. What was that? It was Wednesday. Wednesday?
Yes, Wednesday is 8 o'clock our time, I think, 8 p.m.
Okay. Yeah. We'll do it.
Okay, let's move into the main stories then. Not that much, but the ones that we do have are big talking points. So this is that time of the video where I'm going to ask everybody, please, to like the video, consider subscribing if you're new, hit the subscribe bell. What's it called? Notification bell, and follow us on Twitter. If you want, you don't have to, but it'd be pretty cool. We're really close to 50 subs.
That
How
gets
about
blocked
That'd
a
be
lot,
nice.
so it'd be nice for him to get a couple followers too.
It's true. And every now and again, I noticed I was at 50 followers last week. I'm now down to 49. So I don't know what I'm doing that's upsetting people, but I clearly
You're being too logical,
I'm not for
man.
everyone. I'm clearly a controversial figure in the Xbox community.
You just need to fling your feces around like an actual gamer on social media. You don't need to be intelligent about anything you say.
Yeah. Fuck place. I'll just do what everybody else does. Yeah. Oh man, I wanted to talk about this, like with Forspoken coming out this month, and it's not looking great, honestly. Low and as well, the PC specs were like through the roof, which is like not a good sign for like performance, and loads of big outlets haven't been given a code. Like even like non-public, like Skill Up was tweeting that he hasn't got code. VGC, I think Polygon, whereas apparently a load of very small YouTubers have been given codes. Very convenient,
so off there.
You get the sense that there is some slimy, exchanging to try and keep reviews above 70. Honestly, so I don't know. We'll see. But what I was saying was that I'm seeing a lot of people in the Xbox community doing what the other idiots do, where they're like, they go and find gameplay from the reveal initially, and then they put it they find a gameplay from now and they just save it, click save 720p, and they put it side by side, and they're like, oh, what a downgrade. And like, whether there's a downgrade or not, I mean, whatever, but it's like, why? Because then these same people get really fucking pissed when other, people on the other side do the same thing. When Starfield comes out and somebody zooms in on a leaf and they're like, oh, look at this leaf, it's not very good quality. And then they're like, oh, actually, that leaf is fine quality. And it's like, it's just, you're bringing it on yourself.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you just don't fucking take time out of your day to be that petty. I mean, Jesus. To be able to actually just sit there for like an hour and go back and find like the earliest footage or of like a cinematic trailer and then compare it with something now. You're just doing it to get a reaction. You're a very lonely person. You're very bored. Just don't do it. Just stop. Whatever.
Yeah, how about go play some video games?
It's at the end of the day, it's a shame because if that game doesn't do well, I'm not like, haha, fucking Sony suck, am I right? Yeah, I'm like, I just want that to be a good game.
I don't gain anything.
Yeah. I also have a PlayStation. I wouldn't mind playing that. It looked kind of cool when I saw it. I was like, this, I'm vibing with this. The magic here looks sick. I was just like, I would play this, if it eventually came to like a subscription service or something like that. At the end of the day, I just want a good game. Like, I have all consoles and I want to consume good games. So, yeah.
That's right. Annoying stuff. Silly shit.
Yeah.
Okay, first big story, Tim. Let's get it out of the way. ABK. The EU and the CMA are raising objections to the acquisition. Doesn't really mean all that much. It just means that they're saying, we have some problems. Doesn't mean anything. It's not a block. In my eyes, honestly, this means the deal's going through. Okay. The fact that they're at the position where they could block and they're choosing not to, and we know Microsoft is being very, very cooperative and has said that they're okay with making remedies, suggests to me that this is happening. So we will see. I mean, we will, and also we'll have to see what the remedies are. Is there anything that could happen with this deal, Tim, that would kill your enthusiasm for it? Is there a remedy that Microsoft would make, be forced to make, that would really diminish your excitement for the deal?
I feel like if they were to do anything in regards to the sort of Blizzard side of the deal and being extra generous with the IPs from there, I'd be a little bit annoyed. I think it'd be kind of nice to have those locked down as a platform exclusive. But because I mean, I've said from the beginning of this, like I don't care about Call of Duty. I really don't give a shit. I care about the Blizzard side of this deal. So like if it ends up just being like pretty equal exchange on the Blizzard side of things for across all platforms, that'll be a bit annoying. Obviously, we'll still have all this stuff dropping into Games Pass and everything like that. But yeah, I guess just anything regarding that, yeah, would be a bit disappointing.
So to you, it's like if they're like forced their hand to make everything Blizzard makes in the future multiplayer. Is that what you're saying?
I guess so. It kind of comes off a bit toxic, because I'm essentially rooting for Blizzard IPs to only stay on the Xbox platform.
Well, like existing ones, I would assume that you don't feel that way. Like you wouldn't expect Overwatch 3 or Diablo 4, or like 4 or 5 to be exclusive, right? Or like World of Warcraft. Or I mean, it depends, case by case thing. But
Diablo 4 maybe.
I wouldn't expect those games to be exclusive, and I would not be mad if they never became exclusive.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a hard one because when I think about it, like I'm definitely on board with just everyone having it, and it's just more money at the end of the day being pumped. The more sales is more money being pumped into both Xbox and Blizzard and a successful studio through the selling of their game. So at the end of the day, I guess I'm happy with it, just as long as it's just dropping into Games Pass, which they will be. I'm a happy bunny. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's not really too much I can say that would make this deal very negative.
I think,
but it's just got to be worth
on something important there
as well. That's
yeah,
it.
right. So there's that. There's like the opportunity cost of like, and that's the thing. I guess when we're talking about this, there's like a degree of like the platform I've invested in are investing a lot of money themselves, and if they spend this much money and I don't get much value out of it, well, then I'd rather this money just went towards something else. Do you know what I mean? But that's like ultimately the value proposition we're trying to weigh up here. But I think you touched on something really important there where you say Game Pass. One of the things that would really kill my enthusiasm if they were like, everything this company puts out has to go to all competitors' subscription services, or or cannot be put on subscription services. You know what I mean? It can't be put on subscription services day one. There's some sort of exclusion. Like ultimately, again, like it's that thing of like, oh, why are you, beating your chest for like exclusionary deals in the it's like I'm like, I don't expect people to be cut out of it. I want value out of this. If it's coming to Game Pass, I kind of expect that it comes to Game Pass before any other platform or their services. At the very least, or if there's any sort of deal that restricts it coming to Game Pass, because I don't feel like I'm getting value if it's just going to go to every subscription service.
Yeah, definitely.
I also don't need existing IPs to be made exclusive. I mean, yeah, if I was going to be turbo toxic, I'd be like, Diablo 5, make it exclusive. Overwatch 3, make it exclusive. And I don't think it's off the cards. Like, it seems that the next Elder Scrolls is going to be exclusive, and I guess that's different, the whole strategy that Microsoft has outlined with single player games, versus co-op games, and there's more of a rationale for like single player content and small group content versus big groups where there's large cross play and or that sort of incentive. But the other thing that would kill it, so the first thing would be sort of parity on subscription services or just total obliteration of them. The second thing would be like any sort of binding agreement around future IP. Like we know that Blizzard's working on this survival co-op IP with like a fantasy world, and all the insider reports are that the game's going really well, looking really good, very novel concepts. This AAA version of a survival game that's never really been done. Like there's been lots of indie and AA attempts at survival games, and they've always been like, early access and a bit buggy and always co-op. Blizzard's like really going all in on the genre. I think Xbox needs to lock that down. I think that I don't see any problem with Xbox locking new IP down as exclusives and straight into Game Pass. So that would be the other thing that would kill my. And same for Activision. You know, when they start mixing stuff up over there and Call of Duty starts taking a break and those studios can develop new stuff, that better not be locked out because that's value. You know, those are talented studios.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, all of these potential future projects that are, you know, big, unannounced, and at the point of their release, yeah, I feel like they should probably be exclusive to the platform when they're this far off. And these are all, you know, platform selling incentives to get people on board with Xbox over Sony. And yeah, it would definitely be a shame to just see all of it just be shared kind of equally. And then yeah, I'm 100% on board with, you know, I just want things on Games Pass. Like, yeah, sure, I don't mind PlayStation having it, but it would be a real shame if PlayStation they're just getting like the same treatment as us, even though Xbox are the ones that spent 70 billion on the deal. But you know, they're also coming to PlayStation subscription service and stuff like that. You know, I don't want to lock the PlayStation as a platform out of a lot of these games, but it'd be nice for us to have this. We can have it through our Games Pass subscription service where they still have to spend £70 on it. You know, I feel like, you know, that's a pretty minimum, especially when you're spending 70 billion on a deal. So,
yeah. So I think those are the 2 points really.
yeah,
but you know, we'll see as we go along. It's like I said, this kind of makes me think that. This is going to go through if the objections aren't killer. But having said that, it's, you know, we spoke last week about, you know, some of these giant tech companies just dropping some of these deals, like 40 billion deals, because some of the remedies that they wanted were not feasible. So, you know, we'll see. But, you know, Xbox has a plan B. Like, that's for sure. Microsoft to have this money earmarked for something else. Like, if this fails, they have another plan. So they'll do what they want to do as long as they continue investing. On the back of this, a major EU trade alliance backed the acquisition as well, saying, quote, that Sony is a clear market leader with its PlayStation platform and Microsoft is still in a challenger position. Not really much to add, but we've seen quite a few trade alliances and union, you know, organizations kind of back the deal because there is kind of the human element to this exchange as well. If this doesn't go through, ABK are laying off a lot of people. If this doesn't go through, there's a bigger chance that Bobby Kotick stays in a more influential position, etc., etc.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there are definitely benefits to them coming under the Xbox umbrella as well. Yeah, from a job keeping perspective and just completely giving the whole place a bit of an overhaul and getting rid of all these fuckers that are running it, you know, the way they are. So yeah.
Okay, so here we go. We're on to the big bad, the big sad for the week. You know, unless you've been living under a rock, you have noticed that Microsoft has made, or is due in the process of making, around 10,000 layoffs. This isn't a unique thing to Microsoft. This is happening across big tech, across the board. Google has had the same thing. Riot as well. A couple of other companies that I'm struggling to remember right now, but you know, loads and loads of jobs are being sort of laid off right now. And I will kind of just add a bit of wider context to this, that in the last 2 years, Microsoft has upscaled by 40K. 40, you know, since 2021, they've gained 40K employees internationally. Part of that is due to COVID, and now they're cutting 10K. It's obviously a real shame, but overall, this is still a net increase in 30K. There is, you know, the argument here is essentially that all of tech and gaming lost their shit when COVID came because gaming, you know, engagement went through the roof. And so they upscaled. And they were like, man, this is great. This is going to go on forever. And then obviously it didn't go on forever. And now they're having to lay people off, which is kind of fucking dumb because it's like, I don't understand how you people getting paid literally 6 or 7 figure salaries couldn't have not had this happen. I don't know. It just seems like poor planning.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they were clearly riding a pretty high wave, but eventually the wave crashes, right? We weren't going to stay in lockdown forever. COVID was going to die off, and people were going to start getting back to, the regular sort of way of living and not being quite as introverted or indoor activity based as it was in its height. Um, so yeah, there was no reason to scale so ridiculously high to the point where now because of the dip they have to get rid of people again. Yeah, it's pretty short sighted at the end of the day.
And of course, the other side of this is, following from the last story, that oh my god, this is a bad look. While Microsoft is spending 70 billion to bring on AVK, laying off 10k of their own to bring on about 10k new. Like, wow, what a bad look.
Yeah, there's no way around it. Yeah, that's a pretty horrible look to cut costs when you're spending 70 billion elsewhere. Yes, it's a really bad look. Yeah,
it's awful, and it gets even worse. And this is where I get like legitimately like pissed off. Like that a lot of this has impacted a lot of Xbox. I don't really care about Microsoft that much. I don't know if that's a surprise. I don't use that many Microsoft products. I do use my Xbox. I'm not opposed. I use Microsoft Office, I guess. And but I don't use many more of their products. Not that I have a problem with them. I just don't use them. I use a Mac. I have an iPhone. Whatever. But the Xbox being affected here is really annoying me. Not id. The Coalition, Bethesda Game Studios, and 343. And 343 is a whole other thing because they've been hit particularly hard, and we'll come back around to that. It's kind of its own story. But Xbox bringing on Bethesda in 2018.
Yeah.
They haven't even really got going yet. And I don't really know if I where to point fingers at. They obviously released Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo as part of under the old PlayStation contracts. That's kind of been it, right? And then Starfield, obviously, and Redfall coming out this year. To bring them on and then start laying people off before they even really get going is like that is so irritating.
Yeah.
Like because people say this, anecdotally about Microsoft, don't they? That they're like they acquire a lot of people and they're not generally not that good about managing them. That's just anecdotally. I don't know the stats. I don't know the facts, and I'm kind of like, maybe they're right. Like this is, I mean, not that I had an opinion before. I just wasn't informed, but seeing this firsthand, I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I really don't feel good about it. I'm like, all of this chatter about revenues going up and, Satya and Nadella making like 60 million personal income a year. Like, they all of these companies are reporting more revenue year on year. They're like, yeah, well, it's the most we've ever made. I'm gonna lay off 10k people. So like, are you lying to shareholders? Probably, or like something's not matching here. So like when it comes to Xbox, yeah, it's really annoying because Xbox is we're right on the cusp of supposedly having that final turnaround. 2021 was a great year. We've had this conversation 27 times, but we're right on the cusp of things about to turn around, and now like to be laying people off right now. I don't know. I just don't feel good about it. Like generally, and my confidence in Xbox is a little bit lower after all of this. I'm like, I don't know. Like you keep saying you're committed, but where are we at?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, you can only really look at the results, right? You can only look at what's been given, what's been presented, and it's really nothing so far. Since all these big acquisitions, nothing's really come out. And yeah, there might be some stuff in the oven, but like you said, how trustworthy is all this? If they're saying all this shit about revenue and then they're laying off people, how much can you trust that all these projects are going quite as swimmingly as they say they are and all this sort of stuff? Really, you got to take everything with a bit of, with a pinch of salt. And yeah, it's just really not a good look that you're laying off people that you bought in. Before anything solid has even come out, and when the stuff that's due to come out comes out, no one's even fully aware of the quality that's going to come out at. You can hope it's going to be
No.
good, but at the end of the day, you have to have your reservations, don't you? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not good, man. But it's so weird because like a lot of people say like Xbox is such a great place to work and is such a great atmosphere and stuff like that. And
I think it
it's
won Best Place to Work last year or something, or 2 years ago. It
yeah,
won an award for it.
and it just makes you think like yeah, the culture's there and everything like that, but like from like a money perspective and a cash flow, like does something need to be looked at here? Is there like too much being spent on the higher ups? Are they eating too much? Is there too much wastage? Is there too much all this kind of shit? Like, because this shouldn't be happening. If it's such a great place to work and everyone loves it, and we're buying so much shit, but we're still making layoffs, like, I don't get it. There's got to be something happening. There's some kind of leech sucking the life out of it somewhere.
Who is it? Who's doing it?
Who is it? Is it the guy raking in 60 million? Nah, can't be. Nah, he's fine.
Yeah, just bad looks across the board. And Joaquin says, in the chat as well, for Xbox, it does kind of overshadow the event next week. It's really set the tone for this week. Hopefully the show's good enough, but we can be like, okay, actually, maybe they are going to have their shit together this year. And we can look at a couple of things and think, they are changing things and how they're doing, like the marketing around this event, and this event is making a whole new event like Nintendo has. Like, this is good. This is good. Actual changes. Like, we haven't seen actual changes like this from Microsoft in a long time. They've inhaled studios, but how they kind of approaching the output has kind of not really changed. I kind of and when we look back at Phil, I think this ties into what also Rakeem was saying before. When we look back at Phil's legacy, it's going to be mostly positive, but like I don't think he has ever really figured out how to properly announce games. Like, he's before he said that we announced games too early, and then we didn't announce anything for a while, and then they announced everything too early again. Like, we're at a stage where we're still waiting for Avowed, we're still waiting for Fable, we're still waiting for all of these projects. Anything on them really. And so it's just a bit of a shame. I just don't feel like there's been that many lessons learned. And I don't mean to I'm not like doom scrolling, like I'm not doom posting, I just think this is a bad look. Really, when you're doing a podcast about a product or an industry, the worst thing you could possibly have to report on is that there's been 10,000 layoffs in the air. I know that's Microsoft, not Xbox, but you know what I'm saying. It's really like the worst thing you could be reporting on it from a confidence perspective. So yes, I am like retroactively looking back, and I'm looking at it with a bit of a tilted lens. But that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. I want the developer direct to be good and to make me feel good about it, but like, considering it was only in 2013, no, 2014, 2015, that there were genuine talks about Xbox being shut down. And then Phil came in and he obviously convinced somehow Microsoft to be like, give us all your money. And that's great. And don't get me wrong, it hasn't been god awful. Their sales have been pretty good this gen, and last gen it wasn't as bad as everyone liked to make out, and they had some hits. But like the fact that we're still at that waiting stage, we're still waiting, really.
Yeah.
I will always say, I've said on Twitter before that 2021 was a fantastic year, and we have a good time with Game Pass, which has been tremendous. But there's still this kind of like they're just not on the PlayStation or Nintendo playing fields yet, and making layoffs before we've got there is yucky.
Yeah, it really does make you think that, like, again, not to sound doom and gloom or whatever, but it really does make you think that, like, if this year doesn't slap,
It's
and
bad.
and a lot of these big projects have been going on for so long, turn out to be not fantastic, they don't review well, and they don't sell well, there's no reason to think that Xbox might not be in another 2014 state here, and start to look to potentially shut their doors because they've been like, sure, have the money, have the investment, prove us right, and this is the build up. This we're hitting the point the climactic point now where these things start releasing. And yeah, if it doesn't turn out well, man, like there's gonna either be some enormous changes or fucking they're just gonna start ripping funding out of Xbox potentially. So
again,
yeah. So it's quite scary. I have faith, obviously. You know, we're reporting on a negative article right now, a negative bit of news, but I still have overall faith in Xbox, obviously. But yeah, it is. Yeah, there is that thing in the back of my mind.
It is absolutely, you know, and like I said, you know, I'm just like you couldn't tell me to talk about something worse when we do like a podcast on this thing. So don't get me wrong, all the good things I've said about the platform still count. I still think Game Pass is incredible. It's heads and shoulders above the other subscription. You know, it's changed the way I play games. I play games I would never play before, and that's really phenomenal to me. I think the console is brilliant. I love the features of it. You know, I love the actual, you know, the direction Xbox has gone in terms of its ecosystem, it's streaming. You know, I make so much use of all of these things, which I probably wouldn't have done before. You know, giving me things I didn't know I wanted. That's exactly what you want out of this, or like an entertainment product. You know, they focus a lot on social games, which is again great for me. And now they're focusing a lot on variety. They've acquired some of my favorite studios literally ever. Bethesda Game Studios, Arcane. You know, Bethesda is a publishing label all round. And all of that into Game Pass or for future games, like, could not be better. Obsidian, like, you know, the list goes on and on. So like, absolutely, you know, I still think they're going in the right direction. But like when you start combining like this with like these continued reports about some studios struggling, you know, there's like, is Fable struggling with his engine? Like, are they using Forza Tech? Everwild, has that been rebooted? State of Decay 3, is that having a hard time? You know, 343, Perfect Dark, you know, in the initiative. And we never really, it's a lot of speculation. And there is, you know, I think there is a lot of journalistic like value in reporting negatively about Xbox. I for real, like, I think it just gets a lot of clicks. I think a lot of people generally in the mass media like to dunk on Xbox. It's fine, you know. It's like the because I think to like the wider audience it's kind of funny, you know. It's like Microsoft, $1 trillion company, has a gaming company but can't get on the same level as the other smaller companies. You know, I think that's why. So it's very easy for them to, you know, to dunk on them. So you know, it's just a bit rough, this bit of news to hear when we're right on the cusp of getting going, and we've had so much to say, so much good to say in the build up to this, and you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's just a negative bit of news all the way through.
So I wanted to go back to Joaquin's question here. How do you feel about the sentiments that Phil should go? I don't agree, but I'm hearing it more and more. Tim?
I don't know. It's really hard to tell. We don't have a look in behind the curtain. We don't know what's happening. We don't know how he's managing all the studios, all the finances, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot. Everything with Xbox at the moment and its releases and its studios is shrouded in a lot of mystery. So it's really hard to tell where everything's at. You know, everything might be an absolute fucking banger. Everything might be looking genuinely 10 out of 10, but we just don't know that. So it's really hard to pin Phil's position and say whether or not he's doing a good or a bad job. Because he hasn't really done a good job yet, and he hasn't really done a bad job yet. He's kind of just there right now, promising things that haven't happened yet. So I don't know. I like Phil. I think he's a really honest guy. I think he's genuinely has, you know, gamers, not only for his platform but gamers in general's like best interest at mind. Like, you can tell that. I don't think he's a bullshitter, that sort of thing. And whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing to be in this industry, I don't know, because that can show weakness. But I like Phil, and no, I don't agree he should go. But yeah, it's just very hard to definitively say whether or not he's doing a good or a bad job right now. But yeah,
It's yeah, I don't agree either. I think it's a bit ridiculous. I think when you look at people like CEOs or whatever, but the boss of a particular whole product, you're never going to look at someone and be like, wow, they had a flawless run. Like, that's flawless, nothing wrong with that. Like, let's not forget again, like, Xbox was on the cusp of literally dying in like 2013, 2014, and Phil somehow managed to bring Satya to the negotiating table, and they were like, they became a because before they were kind of like a little toy, a cute little side project of Microsoft, but now they're on the actual table, and that's unbelievable. And like, the Game Pass has been unbelievable. This focus on backwards compatibility, that's all been Phil's era Xbox, getting back on the most powerful console, having strong consoles, having a family of systems. This has been Phil's like vision, and all of that he has executed like flawlessly, perfect. Like, the way Cloud hasn't gained the traction he wanted yet, but the way it all connects as an ecosystem, it's been perfect. Phil's handling of first-party studios has been really just a bit meh, really mid. They've been, and even like publishing deals, like, there was a handful, but just one I can think of at the moment, like Recore. In that 2017, 2018, we had loads that just came out mid, and we just had a string of mid releases. Like, Crackdown, I suppose, was another third, publishing deal, but between State of Decay, Sea of Thieves launch, we all know that that's gone well. Even State of Decay 2 has gone better now, but you know what I mean. That string of like 60s launches across like 4 years, just like awful. And so we're now at the stage where we're like, they need to be quality. Like, all these games need to be quality. And I get the sense they know that. I get the sense they're delaying because they know they need to make hits. But what that results is obviously like a lengthened like increase in time where we're not seeing shit.
yeah,
We don't get to see anything. So it leaves us to speculate. And then people make layoffs, like, make some of the layoffs. And so we're like, God damn it, what's happening? Where is everything? So when we, like I said, and then we'll come back to this again, but like, this will definitely be part of Phil's legacy. He might not be around for like by the end of this gen, Phil's probably gone and we have someone else in. But when we look back, I think all of the positives I just said about keeping Xbox alive and the Game Pass and that vision of the shared ecosystem, we're going to be like, wow, it literally changed the industry. It disrupted the industry. It got PlayStation to make 2 consoles. It got PlayStation and Nintendo to make a competitive subscription service. It got them to do a lot on like the hardware and software level. But the first party problem, like, we're still not over that hump yet, and that will be like a big strike against his name. Unless it starts to turn around at the end here, which is what we're waiting for. And the other side of this, Tim, the other side of the story, again, it kind of ties into this, is 343, who's been hit particularly hard. Reports are fluctuating that the company's loss has been somewhere between like 20 and 50%. That's like that. And again, when we're talking about bad looks, this is, and everybody says this, it's Xbox's premier studio. It's their Naughty Dog. It's their, who the fuck makes Mario? I don't know. Nintendo? Nintendo?
Yeah.
What's the name of the, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would be like one of these platform holders cutting one of those teams in half. It's like, how have we got here? And like, this is the other side of it. When we look back at Phil, for sure, there's a strike against his name for Halo.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, and I don't know, it's just because the buck stops with him. We don't ultimately know what part of the management was the problem, because that's what a lot of devs are saying now that they've been laid off, that management was fucking impossible to work with. We don't really know if that was him. Probably realistically it wasn't, but the buck stops with someone, and someone should, we had 3 games like where there's been a major problem with each of them, and the fact that nobody stepped in at some point and were like, we need to do something here. I don't know. Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah. No. I was literally just gonna say, yeah, the whole 343 thing is yeah, it's extremely disappointing, and it just makes you think like, was it not kept? You know, was it a closer eye needed to be kept on it? Especially, I just I don't get how something like this could happen to your premier studio, to the studio that's making the game that you're fucking printing on all the boxes of your fucking consoles and fucking marketing the shit out of it. And it's the franchise that put Xbox on the map. It's the franchise that saves Xbox. It's the franchise that does everything. Like, how how has it got to the point
How?
where it is now? Um, is it a lack of 343 having the resources they need? Is it a lack of them needing the management they need? Or is it just the fact that they're genuinely, maybe they're just not up to it? Maybe they're just not the right studio for it. You don't know. But I don't know, man. I'm kind of I'm a little bit on the bandwagon of maybe Halo should be handed off to someone else. Um, just to have a go at it. But ultimately, that in itself is so fucking risky too, because giving Halo to another studio now and having them have their first attempt at such a prestigious franchise, and then if that doesn't hit, and you got a couple generations or a couple iterations of a Halo game that doesn't hit, the franchise is just fucking 6 feet under at that point. Um, so it's a really tough position. Like Xbox and 343 have put Halo in such a tough position where it's really hard to know what to do with it and how to put it back on the map. Um, yeah, it's a shame, man. It is a shame.
It is. It is a shame, and we're going to cycle back to some of that. Or what you said about different studios being involved with Halo, as is the title of the video. But so adding on to what we're saying about a lot of the team at 343 being cut, Joseph Staten, who took over the lead of Halo Infinite, in the run up to launch, and over the last year to kind of get things back on course. Essentially, he was back on the Bungie team in the original days, and it gave people a lot of confidence, that he was steering the ship. He's now left 343 and has gone back to Xbox Publishing. He was always in Xbox Publishing. He has been for like the last decade. He just came on to help Halo Infinite get through the doors. But I think there was kind of a secret, like optimism that he was going to stay on the team.
Mm.
It's obviously a bad look, and I guess what I find kind of hyper frustrating about this is that they did it with Halo Infinite. Like I'm okay putting my head on the chopping board and saying they did it. It's just that then they didn't have the planning. I don't know what it was. Someone didn't prepare them for the rest that they needed to do, because for the first time they actually got it all right. Do you know what I mean? Like Halo 4, the story was good. Some people were maybe a bit upset with some of the designs along the way. Multiplayer was bad. Halo 5 campaign sucked, but the designs were a lot better. But a lot of people were upset with the multiplayer and the drift away from its classic gameplay. Halo Infinite, they got the story right. I love that story. It's still a 9 out of 10. That campaign is I really liked it. They got the multiplayer right. There was enough for launch, I think. It was like 11 maps. It was like the same of what Halo 3 launched with. They got a lovely amount of weapon variety, balancing, abilities. Oh man, that first month or two, Twitter was exploding with Halo clips in the sandbox, and they got it, and then it just couldn't be kept up. Like they did it, but then they fucked it, and so there's an element of frustration with Infinite, because it sounds like the whole development cycle was really turbulent. And, we spoke about this before, but well, I don't know if we'll ever really know, but with a lot of the developers that have now left, there's been a lot of talk about how the team is genuinely really amazing, very, very talented. And one particular dev actually said, which I had noticed as well, that a lot of the people who have left 343 are now are on industry leading teams. And they were like, 343, literally that team produces some of the best developers I've ever worked with. But management was so difficult to work with. I see people at 343 now working at like Respawn or like Jedi Fallen Order over at Apex, working at like on a COD and like like high positions, and I have noticed that. So it more and more seems that this is what we had all feared, that there was some management fuckery going on with that studio that just hasn't been able to get it right for 10 years. 10 years, Tim.
It's a long time. It's a long ass time.
Bungie gave you Halo Reach. You know what I mean? And Halo Reach was like, for a lot of like the classic fans, it was kind of the tipping point where it's like, maybe we don't like this direction, but you can't deny that it was the full package.
Halo Reach
and after that, there's just been something wrong. And it's just, I don't know why we aren't. It's just disappointing. Like, like Halo Infinite as a game, I still really, really loved, but like, I of course, understand the sentiment that a lot of other people feel, and I'm upset that I'm not still really playing it. And a lot more work needs to be done to get me back involved in the game. Like season 3 is great, and it's a new gun, it's new equipment, a couple of new maps. That's great, but like, yeah, I need more than that. Like, so I don't know. It's just disappointing, and the confidence in that studio is at an all-time low. And Pierre Heinz, who's the studio head, who was made, Bonnie Ross left and he was made the new studio head, put out like a tweet today, one of the 343 pictures that one of the things that the studios do when a game's got delayed. They're like with a studio picture on it. And they said, because there's a lot of speculation that 343 aren't going to be the lead devs anymore on Halo. So, he just went out there and said, Halo and Master Chief are here to stay. 343 Industries will continue to develop Halo now and in the future, including epic stories, multiplayer, and more of what makes Halo great. And that's kind of it. So, I mean, I do have more to add about this, about some insiders and what they're saying about the direction of Halo and the studios involved and everything. But like, what's kind of like your temperature on like where we're at with the studio now, and like the history of 343 with Halo, and what next?
Yeah. So 343 have made it's literally 2 Halos, right? Is it
4, 5, and Infinite?
Oh, they made 4, 5, and Infinite. Okay. Yeah. They took on from Reach. Yeah. Yeah, it's
and to what degree is Xbox at fault here? I guess. Sorry, is the other part.
Yeah, I mean, by the sounds of it, it does sound like the majority of the issues do stem from Xbox and from management and from higher ups making decisions or blocking or something like that. It does sound like 343, they do potentially have the skill set to execute and to make, the game that everyone wants. But it's being held back by higher ups. That's definitely the sort of vibe I get after hearing everything that was just said. But there's also just the fact that 343, they don't have particularly the best track record with Halo. I mean, 4 and 5 is they're just okay. Like they're not fantastic. In fact, I'd say 5 was actually a pretty bad entry all in all. I think 4 was, in my eyes, looked on a little bit better. Because I don't know, the multiplayer was fine in 5, but I really didn't play it much. I couldn't get to grips with it, and then we can all agree that the campaign was sucky. So, and then they get given this, and I do agree with you on the fact that they did hit it out the gates. It did come out pretty strong. But do they have the legs to continue it? Do they have the legs to, because a game is more than just the first month of a release. It's so important,
especially if you're going to commit to it.
Exactly.
If you're going to say it's a games as a service, yeah.
Exactly. If you're making a live service game, a games as a service, and you're making it free, so the game solely survives on regular updates of content and fresh, new, innovative things coming in every season to keep people coming back. If that is literally your model and you can't fucking do that for shit, and they have not done that for shit, it's probably some of the worst I've ever seen. But are you the right studio for it? It's tough to say. I'm not upset the 343 are sticking with Halo. and they're gonna keep developing it. But I also wouldn't be outraged to see it go to someone else either. I've got my foot in sort of both fucking areas. Like I'm not too fast either way, because they don't have the best track record, and my god, have they messed up with Halo Infinite. I don't care how well that game launched in the first month, they fucked it up. Like you can't release a game as a live service game, a games as a service, and have it the way it is.
And release 2 maps in a year.
Yeah, it's just unacceptable. I don't care how good your foundation is. I don't give a shit. Like you fucked up if that's what you're going for. So yeah.
Absolutely. No, it's true. It's true. And there are some, which is to a degree a little bit more annoying, because actually the game just started kind of getting a bit of steam. Like, Forge came out, campaign co-op was out. There was some movement on on how the battle passes and the challenges and all those systems were kind of working. It kind of got a bit of steam finally, just for this to happen. And there's been a long history of people calling for massive restructures at 343. We had there was a bit of restructuring to management. How long ago was that? 4 months ago, maybe 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah,
and let's not forget that the community has been was hashtag fire 343 was fucking trending for a while. So congratulations, by the way. So maybe this is a shake-up that the studio needs. I know that that's really morbid, but I guess this is the other side of it. Like, it's not the art. Like, artists are getting fired and coders, and it's clearly not their fault.
Yeah,
like we said, the foundation was fucking solid. Infinite's literally still one of the best shooters, the best feeling, if not the best feeling shooter on the market right now, and that's being squandered. That's the worst part of this. It's being squandered. Nobody wants to fucking play it because they've played themselves, the same 11 or 12 maps 6,000 times, and they're the people who are being fired. That's the unfortunate thing. And to make it even worse, I guess this ties it all together. This is like the grounding example in all of this. That Infinite was meant to be the launch game for the Series X, and we all saw that demo, and it looked kind of rough. It looked fun. It didn't look horrible, but there was some real roughness that you would not expect to see in the premier game for a platform holder. And in the 3 years leading up to that, somebody must have, were there not conversations between the team and management of we are not on track? We know at some point this game was being tested. One of the prototypes for 343 was like a hero shooter for Infinite. That was a prototype. Obviously, it never saw the light of day. They were just fiddling around testing. But if that was something being tested because management were give it a go, and then really they only had 18 months to knuckle down on the actual true vision of Infinite that we ended up getting. Why were there not conversations between between them, the various levels of management? It's not ready. Or if there was management just ignoring it? That's what the subjective report seemed to be saying. But that the fact that Infinite they had the upper management were yes, go ahead. It's going to be on monster cans. It's going to be on the front of the box. It's going to be on everything without I don't know, man. Do you see what I'm saying? At the very least, they could have just not put it on the front of the box.
Yeah,
and then there would have been less pressure.
Yeah. I mean, there's some serious communication issues if you're slamming the face of Halo all over your product like that, and then you're like, oh, it's not ready.
Oh no.
Oh fuck. There is some serious communication issues there.
Yeah.
What's happening? That should never happen. Ever. That's insane. Yeah. So funny.
That's what I mean, man. It's just bonkers to me. So this is where we're at. Maybe up to half the team's been cut. And our options really are, number one, I suppose, to they just keep the update cycle of Halo Infinite multiplayer going. Halo is not going to go anywhere. We can probably accept that. Will Infinite ever really truly have a comeback? I mean, I don't know at this point. Forge is great, but it hasn't had the splash that I think a lot of the community were hoping. And also, like, I will kind of add, not to defend anything, or downplay anything, but I kind of think Forge is past its time a little bit. Like, there's definitely space for it, but it's not the industry blowing thing that it was back in 2005.
Plus, we're not all
Because
15 anymore and can spend our entire day building maps in game modes, which is back at the height.
Well, yes, you know what I mean.
You know what I
mean. Like, custom games was, I think, was a big part of it. You could go to the thing and download, and I've done a bit of that, and that's been fun. But the barrier of entry to the games market has gotten even lower, and there are like party games. Like, do you know what? Oh, fucking, I'm gonna if I would piss some people off here. The fact that
don't do it.
A lot of the community went on and on about how the game needs to launch with Forge because that will change everything, and then it didn't launch with Forge, and this is, a real problem. And then we finally get Forge, and you know what the browser is full of? Halo 3 map remakes, Nakta Untoten, zombies from COD.
Yeah.
Some people just never grew out of 2005, did they?
No. We have one of those friends in our group. They just don't.
Like, those Forge maps existed in Halo 5. I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna. It's obviously not the community's fault. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's more that, like I said, the barrier to entry to the games industry is lower, and there are party games of good quality now that you can go and play on Game Pass for free. Like, so that's what I mean when I'm saying, like, I think it's not the industry shattering thing that it was back then. Obviously, there's still a place for it. Obviously, if Infinite still had a big player base, it would probably have more steam and more momentum. But we're talking about different things here, in different times. So it's rough. And so this is the second part of the story, Tim. Then, yeah, it's kind of around the licensing of the game out. And this is a really, like, wishy-washy thing now, because the person who has reported on this is called Bathrobe Spartan. Really credible, has reported on a lot of things from 343 before. But Jason Schreier has also thrown a bit of doubt over it and saying that not sure about much of this, but none of it's been directly contradicted, or we're not getting a firm no or a firm yes. But essentially, Tim, this is a breakdown. In 2020, Xbox Publishing had approached other studios to imagine the design of new Halo experiences, delegated but supervised by Xbox Game Studios and 343 Industries. So supposedly there were already conversations happening about renting the IP out, letting people make experiences in the Halo universe. With the downsizing and the loss of talent for producing narrative single-player content, this is the approach that's going to be favored in the future, allowing for studios to build, with permission, Halo titles at scale on a lower budget. These studios will notably be able to have access to certain resources of 343 Industries, including the Slipspace engine. This one property of the studio continues to be updated, perfected, and improved, and the studio keeping within them the engineering team in charge of the engine. Yeah, no engineers were fired, it seems, or very little in the layoffs. So this would therefore lead in the future to more Halo video game products, several games which could explore different ideas and approaches to licensing. 343 Industries would therefore find a place of license manager, as it was during Halo Legends. So in summary, the idea here is that the remaining team at 343 continue to essentially become the Halo Infinite multiplayer team.
Yeah,
the Halo multiplayer team, and the engine team. And then they license out single player content to other studios. Thoughts?
Yeah, interesting. So they would solely only handle the multiplayer element of Halo Infinite. Or is it just
that's
but this is Halo Infinite we're talking about.
Possibly, if Tatanka is a thing, the battle royale that certain affinity are doing, then maybe 343 lend a hand with that to help upkeep that. But certain affinity is a whole ass studio that could probably upkeep it by themselves. So,
but we're not.
Yeah, let's just assume. Infinite.
But there's not going to be any like single player like expansions or anything like that onto Halo Infinite, is there?
Well, it was assumed that there kind of was going to be,
And they're talking
and
about
there's been
that
a lot
being licensed out.
canned,
It
canned.
just canned. Yeah. Okay.
Well, there's been mixed reports. Some people are saying that there was some that was canned. Some people were saying that there's still some sitting there, and other people are saying that there was never any real campaign DLC that made it past the drawing board.
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily have an issue with that. I mean, I think it makes sense to leave the team that's been working on Halo Infinite and its multiplayer, which is now essentially the game. Like, people are done with the campaign. People might have played it again co-op. So essentially, the game moving forward is a multiplayer live service game from this point onwards with Forge and stuff like that. So I think it makes sense
Yeah.
to leave that and any of its future updates or content or anything like that with the studio that made it and has have been working with it this whole time. Especially, yeah. I mean, yeah, it kind of does make sense, even though they haven't done the best job with it. And then yeah, licensing out anything else outside of that to be done by other studios. I don't necessarily have an issue with this. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of hard to say, but I think it kind of
Well,
makes sense.
what part are you reserved about?
The fact that I guess that 343 obviously had trouble with this engine wise and stuff like that, and to license this out or give it to other studios to work with and pick it up not hitting the ground running, like 343 are already kind of familiar with this, and a company and another studio might not be. They might do an even worse job, sort of thing.
I
Or
don't
it might
think they
take them
have
a
to use
while
slip space.
to pick it up. Yeah, I guess so.
They would just have access to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess if they're not having to use the same engine and stuff like that, then yeah, I quite like it. Why not, right? Why not give another studio a crack at it? Like I said though, having another bad entry into Halo or more bad press into Halo from more studios might just end up killing the franchise even more, and people just be like, is Halo just done? No studio can work on it. Maybe the franchise should just be left now, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, like in terms of slip space, I think they've done enough work on it. Like the majority of the problems with the engine, firstly it is all speculation. Maybe it was a management thing all along. We don't really know, but like the in terms of what we can see from the game, the majority of the problems with slip space, it was like the networking side of it. Everybody spoke about desync, which I will always say was an overblown problem. All games have desync, it's just to different degrees. And how the game presents it to you. So, fair enough. I will say, there was a bit of maybe a problem, a little bit. I don't feel like it's a problem anymore. So if someone was to use slip space for a narrative game, it wouldn't be a problem. Like, hey, for the campaign, lovely. It feels great. So I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. But yeah, you're right. There's been for a while, people have been saying, we made a podcast about this like months ago, where people would say like, oh, should someone else take over Halo? And people would say like, oh, give it to software, or give it to the Activision team, something like that. Fine, but like, I don't think anybody's thinking about what would happen if that game also didn't do well.
yeah, exactly.
Like that well, or the community, like, because bear in mind that the community needs a very exact type of thing, and if they don't get that, do you know what they're going to say? They're going to say Xbox are pimping out Halo to rake in money, for different studios. They're pimping it out, it's just become a money thing that they throw to people and will buy it because, do you know what I mean? It becomes a bit of a lose-lose. Of course, I see the benefit in allowing other studios to have access. Like, I can't get out of my head the idea of like an Arcane or an Obsidian doing like a first-person like RPG in the vein of like Fallout, where, like in season 2 for Halo Infinite, we spoke about the headhunters or whatever they were. I think they were called headhunters. They were dressed in like the bones of the elites and shit, and they went off and they were like, they were like Spartans, obviously, and they went out on these covert missions as a 3, or or some of them went solo as well, and they're like really like brutal in their tactics. They're like covert ops. I can't get out how I had the idea of like having that in like this from an Obsidian studio with like choices and like good dialogue, like customize your own Spartan, or like even Arcane, like lean into like the sandbox and allow Arcane to do some crazy shit. Like
it could be really cool.
maybe right. I think, and there is plenty of stories to tell in the Halo universe outside of Master Chief for sure. I don't have a problem with that. I somewhat like the idea of this plan, honestly, like 343 staying on the multiplayer. They finally got their shit together, it seems. I don't know if the game will ever actually pick up in terms of player count and population again. But it seems they're finally hitting a cadence now, so that's fine. Let them do that for the next 5 years if they want to do that, or however long they want to keep Infinite going on for. And maybe they do very, very slowly chip away at the next main entry. But this is the thing, I can't see them lending out another main entry to another studio. I don't know, that seems kind of wild to me. They just rebooted the franchise. Do you know, Infinite was a soft reboot. I like give it to another franchise and reboot it again. It's like, oh my god, this fucking IP is cursed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which was my main point, is if you give it to someone else and they don't do a good job, mate, I just don't think it's recoverable at that point. It's a tough position. It's a really tough position to be in, like genuinely. And it's only the hole they've dug. They fucked up enough times that they put themselves in this hole. But yeah, you definitely have to be very careful with it. I think if you're going to give Halo to other studios and you're going to try and expand this IP and try and save it or something like that, I think, like you said, you got to do it in the way you were talking. Like, just do it in like separate stories, done in different ways, different formulas, that sort of thing. Rather than just giving them the next mainline game or tell the next Chief story or something like that. Yeah, I think just having like a spin-off sort of thing done by the Coalition or something like that could be pretty cool. Yeah, I think that's probably the best way of doing it. And yeah, I think leaving 343 in their stride, hopefully now, to just maintain the multiplayer is the best way to do it. Yeah.
And I suppose it just begs a question, doesn't it? Because if these problems, like I said, if these problems follow other studios who then get access to the Halo license, it just tells us that whoever's managing Halo in the middle management is just they're just meddling. They're just being annoying. So that's we'll see. Again, it comes back to the thing. It's like, is it really 343's fault? I mean, bad for it's a whole complex thing. And to tie this into the wider conversation and our final story for today is the importance of Halo to Xbox now. Back in 2011, Phil Spencer himself, so this was before he was Xbox CEO, he was still a first party games manager person, but he said, if we lose our way with Halo, we lose our way with Xbox. And the context of the game, the context of that statement was obviously a bit different because they only had 4 first-party studios at the time, and this was before the launch of the Xbox One. But it kind of begs the question: how true is that now? And if it's not true, is that because Xbox has sized up, or is it because they just fucked up? Because the new retail Xbox that have been seen out in the wild, Tim, has Starfield on the back. It doesn't have Halo on the back. It has Starfield on the back of the box.
Halo's being replaced.
What do you think?
With a new sugar daddy.
Yeah,
I think it's an element of both. I think Xbox have obviously upscaled and they've bought more studios and they've got more things in the works, big IPs from Bethesda, Obsidian, potentially stuff from like Blizzard moving forward, all that sort of stuff. We definitely have upscaled, and we definitely have a lot more first parties under our belt and a lot more exciting things coming out of Xbox. And I also do think it's an element of they fucked up. There's just not that much trust or faith in that Halo franchise anymore. But if we did that years back in 2011, moving forward and all that, yeah, that's a huge hit. But I don't think it's as big a hit now. Like, yes, it does suck that we've lost our way with Halo, but it's not the end of Xbox as a result of it, because we have more up our sleeve. We have more, trumps ready to release. And I think that's kind of what they're leaning into with Starfield, right? And it definitely looks like Starfield is Xbox's new baby. God forbid if that fucking flops. Jesus Christ, man. If we've got 2 fucking games that are on the cover of Xbox, like console boxes, that fucking flopped, my God, that's embarrassing. That is so embarrassing.
That's what I mean, man. Like they just need to start spitting out hits. Like if you need to delay, fucking do it. Fine. We will weather this storm. We will be okay. Just keep feeding us, through that Game Pass tube, that feeding tube. I'll be okay. Because that's good shit in there. It's a bit mushy. And I'd rather have a full meal, but it is good stuff. It keeps me going.
Yeah.
And this, yeah, we're kind of at that point now. Like I said, the developer directors this week, maybe we come out of that and we think, you know what? This is new. This is the new era. The new era where Halo releases are really few and far between. It's kind of getting restructured and reworked, in the same way that God of War took a break. The multiplayer will still be there ticking away in the background, and maybe eventually it'll get to a point where it's so chock full of stuff and it draws people back in, and the tank is, just launched, and that's really exciting. But maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't, and so it just kind of ticks away in the background until there is a next single player release from id Software, or it's 343, or it's Obsidian, But in the meantime, this is new Xbox that's going to be front and center. It's going to be Starfield with an 85 plus Metacritic. If Starfield comes out to a 90 plus Metacritic, I'm going to boot up the podcast and I'm just going to cry into my hands for a solid 5 minutes, because Xbox hasn't had a new IP pillar come out and bonk it. See, I literally couldn't tell you. Sunset Overdrive. Yeah. I wasn't 90 plus, but it was 84, 85 or something. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy that we've gone this long. And these numbers are they're numbers, whatever. You know what I mean? It could be 85 plus, and that would still be a huge, immense success because of the nature of a Bethesda Game Studios game. There's it's like a decade between Todd Howard's games. They're a big deal now. This is a big deal no matter what. But there is a point where if the game comes out to 70s, high 70s, that's a fuck up and that's a problem.
Yeah.
We could really be looking at a year where Starfield comes out to 90 Metacritic, Forza Motorsport comes out to 90 Metacritic, Minecraft Legends,
Redfall,
fine.
99.
It's yeah, Redfall comes out, maybe it's 90, maybe it's a big surprise, maybe it's 85 plus. Minecraft Legends, again, maybe that's in the 80s as Game Pass. Maybe there's something secret they've got themed here. Maybe it's Hellblade. That comes out high 80s. Not, do you know what I mean? We could really be looking at that. And I think Xbox knows that ultimately, so to make it a bit more in an optimistic tone for the end of the show, I think that's kind of really how we're looking. I think, what's happened with Halo is a real, it's an immense fuck up. And, like I've said, when we reflect on all of this at the end of the gen, when Phil leaves, we'll point to Halo as man, that you just whether it was it stops at someone. It's something needed to happen earlier and it didn't. Despite some of the enjoyment we got along the way, but there's lots of other things here to enjoy, and hopefully, while that sorts itself out, we can start feasting in some of these other areas.
Yeah, definitely.
All right then, that's the end of the show. Sorry, today was a bit of a bummer. Like I said, it's not a doom. We're not doom posting. It's just the nature of what the news was today. Hopefully we come back next week and we're really happy after the developer direct, or at least a little bit happy.
Well,
That'd
we'll be
good
happy
too.
after Forspoken gets 4 out of 10, right? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I thrive off other people's pain.
Yeah,
that's all right. I meant to say at the top of the show, I played a little bit of Monster Hunter Rise. Fuck, I'm not going to go into that now, but yeah, I was just thinking like, what's happening on Game Pass? But yeah, I played a bit of that. Hopefully, everybody's enjoying that and the Persona games that's come out as well.
Yeah, yeah. For anyone who hasn't,
but Tim hit
played Rise, our jingle, yeah. For anyone who hasn't played Rise, yeah, play that shit. I mean, we're only not playing it because we've absolutely blitzed that game on Switch. It's phenomenal. That is a hell of a Games Pass game.
But Tim, it feels so good.
Does it actually?
60. It feels so good.
Yeah, I know. But it's just starting from ground one again. Like, I'm like 200-300 hours in on the Switch. Like, it's just. I know. And it's just like with so much coming out. Like, I want to play Atomic Heart in Feb. If Wild Hearts does well, I'm genuinely might splash out on Wild Hearts. You know,
I think that looks shit.
I think it looks okay. I think it looks okay.
It looks good.
I think it has potential.
Low 70s.
Yeah, but you know, it has potential, and if that reviews quite well, and we're both on board with, you know, a new Monster Hunter experience, you know, we do half our games too. So it's not like the priciest thing ever to be like £35 for a new Monster Hunter grind game to play with our friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have to see what it comes out to. I have my reservations. There's no way I'm pre-ordering that shit. But you know, I'm hopeful. But yeah,
good for you, man.
Thanks, man.
All right, everyone. Well, if you are feeling good about Xbox, you know, give us a like. If you're feeling good about the developer direct this week, give us a like. We'll be streaming it, like I said, hopefully on this channel on Wednesday to do sort of a live reaction, and then we'll be back next week at normal time. So we hope you'll have a wonderful Sunday, or whatever day of the week you're listening to this on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And take care of yourselves. Have some water. Good night.
Goodbye. Good night. Good morning. Whatever.
Night.
Bye.
Good luck. Good night. Good day.
Good night. Good luck. What's that from?
Dying Light.
It's Dying Light. Yeah.